All right, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you this fine Thursday evening. I hope everybody is doing well. We are live! For whatever that's worth, as the old saying goes. All right, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean. I got my video going there. I gotta pop out the chat. Minimize this. We'll keep that going there. Boop. Turn this. Oh, it is Mr. Let me, gotta get my settings right here. Gotta mute the old YouTubes. Boop. There we go. So as always, let me go over to my Discord and let everybody know I'm live. So I want to close the Discord because I'll be easily distracted, and let's just face it, I'm not that smart. But I did post on the Discord, and I'll post here on my YouTube channel in my Discord. All right, so we'll go back there. Oops, we need to minimize everything. Back there, and we will close Discord. Brian Eiskoff, how you doing, sir? There is cake and grenades, because, well, you can't have one without the other, in my opinion. That's the Mr. Mean way. I've got double stuffed Oreos. I've got a stevia cola in my Tabasco hot sauce, because why not? I found a Mr. Mean sticker. Woohoo! I bit the shit out of my lip, so I apologize if it starts bleeding. It's just chaos around here, man. It's been my allergies have been kicking my ass. I had to go to Cable, Wisconsin. Look it up on the map. It's about an hour and 10 minutes away from Duluth, Minnesota, where I live. And there was storms and crappy weather, and allergies are just kicking. It was bad. I stepped out of my car and I thought I was going to be carried away by mosquitoes. It was pretty bad. And Cable, Wisconsin is out in the middle of nowhere. They don't even have a restaurant in the town. There's no physical place to go. Well, there's no non-bar physical place to go and get a meal. There's a gas station and there's a bar. And the bar serves food sometimes. So it's a crapshoot whether or not you'll get food. But hey, guess what? They always serve booze. Who needs food when you got liquid food? But those that know I'm not a drinker, I haven't drank in years, but well over 10 years. Let's see what else is going on. There's a bunch of things I want to talk to. If you're in the chat, pop in and say hi. It really helps me out. Let's see. It says 3 people are watching. I know I'm one of them. A couple of things I wanted to talk about tonight. Of course, I've been reading this, and I gotta say, it's a treat. I'm really enjoying it. I just picked up the GM's screen. I'm hoping they do a physical GM screen, because the art on the front of the GM screen, when you buy it, you get it as a PDF off a drive-through. Hint, hint, use my drive-through RPG link. Hey, Mark. What's going on, sir? AKA Cosmic Flux. When my phone's just beeping at me. My wife and kid are at a aquatic show. For those that don't know, my son is autistic. He's 7. So, unfortunately, like a normal kid, you can't just take him to a zoo and let him go nuts. He's very sensory affected and stuff. So certain things grab and hold his attention, and like water acrobatics is just happens to be one of them. So it's really cool that that comes to Duluth every year. And so we thought this year it'd be a good time to take him. And other exciting autistic children parent news. My son got in the hot tub for the first time. We've lived in the house since October. We've used the hot tub many times so far, and he's never wanted to get in. He's always fought it. And so we work very hard to not pressure him or make him feel like he has to do anything. But, it puts a damper on our ability to use it because we don't want to leave him in the house alone. And so I was prepping the hot tub Monday night and everything, and doing my normal maintenance on it, and he was playing in the water on the side, and I was like, hey, you want to get in the hot tub tonight with daddy and mommy? And he was like, yes. And so I ran in the house and told him, take a shower, get ready, get in the hot tub. So I didn't want to lose the excitement, so we got him in the hot tub, and he actually had fun. So I think now that he's over that initial hot tub fear, for lack of a better word, those that know autistic children don't like change, and depending on where they are on the spectrum, it can be really traumatic or it can just be a mild annoyance. With my son, it is sometimes severely traumatic, but it is every day it gets better. So we have high hopes that he will eventually be what is considered normal, and be able to function in society. But that's a rant for another time. The Wonderful World of Water. Yeah, pretty much. It's an acrobatics aquatic show, so there's a little spraying of water. It's not like there's a big pool and they're diving into it. They put up a big top tent over at the mall here in town, and there's water spraying and stuff. So it's pretty cool, and Norby likes seeing the water and stuff. So I think it'll be a good time. But yeah, it was. Just grabbed a couple things off the shelf that I wanted to kind of talk about tonight, and hopefully the chat will participate. Neurotypical is overrated. Amen, brother. That is so true. I never knew. I come from a generation that we called those kids retarded. And they rode the short bus, and we made fun of them because that's what we did back in the day. Doesn't make it right, doesn't mean we were mean people. It's just that's what you did. And it wasn't until my eyes opened and I saw this beautiful world. I'm about to tear up. Look at this. Of autistic children, and they're amazing. So anyway, that got me. Let's talk about RPG games. We're not here to talk about autism, although I should do a channel about autism because I think that's something that's sorely needed. There's not enough YouTubers out there talking about autism and how it affects normal people, because it is tough. We have friends that one of their children is so far down the spectrum that he can't survive on his own. He never will be able to survive on his own. His brain just functions differently, and like, we take going to a restaurant for granted because Norby's he's very shy. He's not typically your typical 7-year-old. He's about mentally at a 4-year-old capacity. So he's just starting to put together, sentences and have conversations with you, but he's pretty quiet. And he likes what he likes, and he does what he does, and he doesn't give a shit what anybody else is doing, like most 4-year-olds. But he's not very social, and so that's one of the things we're working on. And he's in school and stuff like that. But our friend's child is just they don't know what it's like to go have a normal dinner in a restaurant. Luckily, we can do that. So it's a tough fight, man. I didn't know having an autistic child would be this challenging, but also this rewarding. But anyway, again, I'm wandering because that's how my mind works. We're not here to talk about autism and neurotypical and ASD and all that fun stuff. We're here to talk about RPGs. I hope everyone is doing well. The weather here in Minnesota has just been absolutely shite. It should be in the 60s and 70s. It should be sunny. All of the pollen should have burnt off already. It has not. It's been rainy and overcast and chilly. Look, I'm wearing a sweater. Now, I am in my basement. And basements are typically a little cooler here in the Midwest and or the Great White North, as I like to call it. So it's a little chilly. I'm wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt just because like I said, it's a little chilly. But I hope everyone is doing well. Aside from I don't know how the weather is in the rest of the world, but it's been pretty crazy here. Let's see. Well, let me talk about something that I'm really excited about. Everybody knows I'm an Apple fanboy. I have my iPad. Let me see if you can see that. It's probably the brightness is super high. Let me turn it down like that. Yeah, you can see my iPad. Hey, 649. I have a cellular card in here, and so I mount it to my car because my car doesn't have AirPlay in it or CarPlay or whatever. So this is my GPS when I'm traveling and stuff. Works really well. I'm very happy with it. Waze is my GPS navigation of choice. But anyway, I'm an Apple fanboy. I'm an Android phone, but my computers and my tablets, I prefer to be iOS or Apple. But I had this epiphany at work a couple weeks ago. I started a new job back on April 1st. Brian is in wonderful Concord, California, where the weather is always gorgeous. So your vote doesn't count, sir, because you live in the land of gorgeous people and weather, and we have neither of those here. We have people look like me, so come on. But I do remember my days of living in Walnut Creek, which is the next little town next to Concord, and yeah. I enjoyed it there. I really enjoyed living there. I didn't like California, but I liked Walnut Creek. It's probably one of the best places I've lived. I've lived all over the U.S. There goes the whole witness protection things. It's true. It's true. Brian's not his real name. He's It's Mark McGillicuddy. That's his. Oh wait, well I guess that just blew the whole witness protection thing right there, didn't it? Anyway, so I had this epiphany at work. I'm always thinking about gaming. I have a very active 5-player Pathfinder Second Edition game that I run bi-weekly here in my house. I got out of California as soon as I can. Amen. He can't help it. Yeah, I know. So I'm always, and I'm in technology. I work in IT. I do server and desktop support. And, like today I spent all day in Cable, Wisconsin rebuilding their network. And let me tell you how much fun that was. Not. But anyway, I got it all done. It looks amazing. I wish I could post pictures, but I'm not allowed to. So I won't. Anyway, we use Samsung tablets at work for our drivers and for some of the managers and stuff. I have one. And yes, I do give all the info to the perp. And so we're in the process of changing tablets. We're going from like the Tab Lite A7s and A9s to the 10.1 inch tablets, which are really nice. Now, I'm not a Samsung fanboy. I have a Samsung TV here right next to me, and I particularly don't like it. As a matter of fact, the first opportunity I came across to replace it with a 75 inch Sony Bravia, I did. I got extremely lucky. I was at Costco early Saturday morning. We woke up early and we decided let's go to Costco, and they had put their floor model for 2024 on the shelf, and they had it for $699. And it's a $2,500 TV, brand new out of the box. And I told my wife, I said, we're never going to see a deal like this. So I grabbed it, and I'm going to tell you, I'm a Sony fanboy for sure. And it's been an amazing TV. It's up in the living room. It works great. We love it. It's wonderful. So I mounted the Samsung down here, and I use it down in the man cave, and it's okay. It's fine. It's paid for. I'm not going to get rid of it just because I don't like the interface or like the way the picture is. But putting it next to that Sony Bravia at the time when I hooked them both up, it was night and day. So all you Samsung fanboys out there, all I got to say is go look at a Sony Bravia, and it should hopefully change your mind. There you go, Mark. That's a good one. Because believe it or not, as a running joke, me and Bry, there was a gig in one of the Bond movies. I think it was Roger Moore. It was like, he had him. He had Bond strapped to a table, and there was a laser that was slowly coming up and was going to cut him in half. And he's like, "Do you expect me to talk?" And the villain goes, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." Ha ha ha. And so that was a running joke with me and Bry for quite a while. Earl of Fife, what's up, sir? Is in the house. Earl of Fife was the maker of Heroes and Hardships, a D10 roll and keep game. I featured it on the channel a couple of times. He just put out two very successful Kickstarters for Dungeons Deep and Cavern Zone, a Dwarven supplement, and he now has a 5e supplement that I believe is successfully funded on Kickstarter. So awesome, and kudos to you, Jason. So anyway, back to my technology story. I was sitting there at work, and I inherited the shop in Duluth, which is one of our major hubs for the company that I work for. I won't mention its name, but well, you could probably figure it out. Oh, and then of course Jason has to say that it was near 100 degrees here today or yesterday. Thanks. While I'm sitting here freezing my ass off, but I am again in my basement. So I was cleaning up my shop, and I found a bunch of old PCs and tablets. And so I did, my due diligence. I inventoried them. I recycled them. I removed them from the domain. I removed them from Intune, which is some software we use to track our materials and stuff, inventory. And I did my due diligence, and I went and recycled them. We have a big Best Buy here in town, and so you can take stuff and drop it off. And so I did all that, and then I got another batch of tablets in, and I thought, it is a shame. They look like shit. They're in a protective case. They're beat up because they're used by truck drivers all day long, and they look horrible. Screens are cracked, corners are dent. So I took one of them and I pulled it out of its case, and it looks brand new. There's literally not a scratch on it. The case took a beating, but the tablet is fine. So I reached out to my boss and I said, "Hey, after we recycle these, what happens to them?" He goes, "Well, you recycle them, and where do you take them?" I said, "I take them to Best Buy." He goes, "Well, you'd have to talk to Best Buy." So I talked to the guy at Best Buy, the manager, and he said, "Oh, we load them up, we send them to corporate. Corporate puts them on a boat, and they go to India where they're broken down and recycled." So I talked to my boss. I said, "Hey, if I want 5 or 6 of these, what do I have to do once we recycle them?" He goes, "You don't have to do anything." He goes, "I wouldn't do it." But they're pulled out of our inventory. They're garbage. Uh, you know, there's no warranty on them or anything like that. So I said, "So I can have 5 of them if I want it?" And he said, "Yeah." So I said, "Well, send me an email so I have something in writing. So if any shit hits the fan, I'm covered." And he hasn't done that yet, but this just happened this week. So I got 4 more coming from another site because they shit canned a bunch more. Like I said, I got rid of mine. But so I went in and I removed this from our system. And as you can see, it's got Discord loaded on it right now. My plan with this, and I loaded, if you can see that, you can see the player core book is on there. I use a program called Bookshelf. It is a fantastic program. It's in the Android and the App Store. I really like it on the Mac, but it is pretty solid. And it's a freebie. You don't have to pay for this. This is what it looks like, and it works in portrait or landscape. You know, I got all my core PDFs of Pathfinder Second Edition, and my thought was, everybody's got their phone at the table, and we all get, well, at least me as a GM, I get annoyed when the players are looking up rules on their phone, and I don't know if they're texting or whatever. I will say my players are pretty good, but they're struggling to see and everything because they're on their little bitty phone. And I thought, well, why not refurb 5 of these? I have 5 players. I'll use my iPad because I'm more familiar and I like it better. But this is free. Even if it doesn't hold a charge, we have chargers at the table. So So far, this one works perfectly. It holds a charge. It's at 81%. I haven't charged it since I reformatted it 3 days ago. So this thing works great. I've got all the books on here so they can rule reference. I even set Chrome to open to Archives of Nethys when you open up the web browser. So I haven't locked anything down, but the thing is, it's to be a resource for the players so they don't have to use their phone. It's on my guest network. Um, I mean, I can go lock down the IPs and everything and set this to where they can't see anything but Archives of Nethys. But I don't want to do that. My players, like I said, I don't have to do that. But it's just nice, because it's I got Discord on there, so I can send them a private message. So my plan is the basic of this ramble is I'm going to take each one of these, all 5 of these, and I'm going to set them up for each one of my players, and it'll be their tablet. So that when they come over, all they have to do is grab it off the shelf. I'll keep them all charged. Grab it off the shelf, and they can open up their Discord on it, and I can send them private messages instead of writing a message or whatever, And I just thought it'd be a cool resource and a piece of old technology to use at the table, and I thought it was pretty cool. So anyway, I'll probably do a separate video and post it on my channel about this. But I thought this was a handy thing. So everybody will have the same tablet, or roughly the same. There might be slightly different models, but they'll have a tablet where they have all the rules that they need and Archives of Nethys, and they'll have chat. So if I want to send a private message to the other player saying, hey, your perception check, you see this, instead of taking players in and out of the room and stuff. So yeah. Case the RPG. Brian's in a snarky mood tonight. High AC, but low encumbrance. Yes, very true. Yeah, I'm very happy with the tablet. Like I said, it's just a good use of old technology. Instead of it sitting in a landfill somewhere, we're going to get a good couple years gaming use out of it. So I'm happy with that, and um, I'm gonna, it might even be a feel good article on our intranet page how we're reusing technology. Uh, um, Dracopool, this tablet is relatively new, and all of the Paizo, like I said, the only games I'm putting on, or the only PDFs that are going to be on here, are the Paizo PDFs or Paizo, affiliate PDFs for Pathfinder. It's only for Pathfinder Second Edition, and I've tested it with all the player core and the GM core. The Bestiary is not on here because the players don't need access to the Bestiary. But the God's book and the Howl of the Wild, all those books work just fine on here with no problem. So like I said, I don't foresee any problem, and I got plenty of bandwidth. Yeah. Again, Bookshelf optimizes the PDFs pretty good. I haven't had any problem with them, and for what we're using for them, I don't foresee any problem. So, I mean, you can go through the pages, no problem. So, and then it also has a slider bar at the bottom, so you can get to whatever page you want to get to. It loads up just fine. So I don't foresee any problems. I didn't see any slowness or anything like that. So yeah, Brian, that's the thing. My group is interested in Starfinder 2.0 when it comes out. So that was the other thing, is obviously I'm going to be on the GM subscription program for Starfinder as soon as they open it up to subscription. And I think the plan is to slowly transition from Pathfinder Second Edition to Starfinder. We may play both. I don't know. It'll see. Yeah. And to be honest, most of the PDFs that I've downloaded usually have a small file version or a black and white version, with low color indexing and everything. So I don't foresee any problems for any of the games that I want to play on it. I actually loaded Tales of Argosa. This is the 4.0 playtest for it's basically Low Fantasy Gaming 2.0 from Pickpocket Press. I did a little review on this. I printed this and then just took it and had it spiral bound, and I'm very happy with it. This is fully playable. There's a couple little quirks in here, but for the most part, this is fully playable as a game as it is right now. They just did a little, they came out with 5.0 and then they went to Kickstarter with the 5.0 file and then asked for some, any like spelling errors or anything. I actually sent one or two in myself. So very happy with this. Can't wait to, this is the last Kickstarter I backed. So I'm pretty excited about that. So let's see what's going on here. Yeah. Yeah, Jackalpool, like I said, none of the PDFs I play with, I have that issue on any of my devices, and my tablets are both M2s. So as far as the Apple iPads go, they're well, the iPad 6 is not an M2, but my big iPad that I use at the GM table is a M2. So yeah, I have had no problem. Even with my iPad Mini, I've had no problems loading any of the PDFs. So no problems there. Yeah, Brian. Mark, my home game, I don't switch too often. I've been playing Pathfinder 2nd Edition here at the house since I moved in October. I got a game going shortly after we moved into the house, and it's been going strong every 2 weeks. We've only missed 1 week, so we play every 2 weeks. So it's a good, 6 months? Over 6 months. So yeah, I don't typically switch my home game too much because there's 5 other people that play and they all want to play Pathfinder 2nd Edition. So we started with Dragonbane. We completed the adventure book in Dragonbane from the Kickstarter, and then we wanted something a little more crunchy. So they all decided. I had thrown out GURPS originally, but they decided they wanted Pathfinder. So we went to Pathfinder. Yes, Earl of Fife. There's no reason to have him over 150 DPI on a PDF. Void Runner's Codex. I saw the guys talking about that on the channel. I think the Batman had brought it up. It's 5e. I was so disappointed in Dark Matter, which was a 5e. Esper Genesis, I think, is really good. And on the Esper Genesis front, I posted this on the YouTube video of the little, I don't want to say review, but the fact-finding session I did the other day on the latest video on Mr. Mean Speaks. I just got a notice from DriveThruRPG that the game had been updated. So there is some hope that maybe the Game Master's book will come out. I don't know. I've emailed Rich Escafleur. He has not replied to me. I have his personal email. I got it. I got his business card when he was at the convention 2 years ago. He has not replied. I also posted my video up on his Discord, but his Discord is pretty dead. There hadn't been any activity for well over 2 years, and then I posted the video and another person popped in and said, wait, what's going on? Something happened? And that's been the only, I unjoined, I logged out of the account just because there's no reason to stay there. I'm not playing Esper Genesis right now. I do like it. I think as far as 5e goes, it's 5e only in the base mechanic. Everything else I think is just given a nice flavor, and it's a very well done RPG. He did a great job. It's just a shame that his Kickstarters are still waiting. I think it's 5-6 years later. They still don't have their product. The third book in this series, which is what was Kickstarted. And again, I think Jason of Earl of Fife Games had mentioned that who knows how this guy could do this. It was right before the pandemic, so I think he lost his ass on it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that either. Yeah, Brian was saying he runs. He's ran Pathfinder 2nd Edition. I really like it. I think it runs really smooth. It's a little bit of a crunchier system. It's not for everybody, but if you're not a 5e fanboy, the Dave, if you're not a 5e fanboy, or you are a fanboy and you want to try something a little differently, everybody that I've shown Pathfinder Second Edition to that's been a 5e diehard has really enjoyed it. Um, and especially your power gamers in 5th edition, where they're constantly seeking a better weapon because their weapons become useless after 2 levels. Your +1 sword is kind of useless at 5th level, 6th level, in D&D terms. Now in Pathfinder, every +1 counts, so a +1 sword will last you your whole career. But the nice part is in Pathfinder, you have runes. And so you can take a rune off of a weapon and put a better rune on it. And sometimes there's requirements and stuff to get better runes. But it all goes into the economy of the game. And I really like the system. So I'm very curious to see how they do Starfinder 2.0. I've been keeping up with the playtest. I've read them all. And there's no runes per se, but I believe there's going to be imprints or something to that effect that are going to be little technological matrices that you're going to put on your weapons that will do the same thing that a rune does. Yeah, I will agree with you there. Speaking of which, I even pulled it out to talk about it because I like it that much. And I'm gonna give a shout out to Mr. Isaacoff because he turned me on to this game originally. I found the PDFs for free. I got a downloaded PDF for free, and Brian sent me the books, which I believe you probably can't see them on the screen, or my fat head is in the way. No, you can't see them. They're off this. They're off that way on the screen, unless I turn it. Yeah, see those right there. Those 3 books are those 3 books are the What's Old is New books that Mr. Isaacoff sent to me. And then I wound up buying the big books. But this I saw was on Kickstarter last year or early this year. I don't even remember when this fulfilled. And this is just, I don't really need it because I have all those books. But this is a quick start. And I did an unboxing and a review of this, so go check the doobly-doo, the archives there. But yeah, they did a really great job. And I also did, for What's Old is New, their sci-fi setting, they did I don't remember the setting, but they did a setting book, which PDFs and everything that came out with for their sci-fi setting. And it was really well done. And, I printed it. I got it a physical copy as well as PDF. And yeah, they are excellent. Ian Publishing is just phenomenal. I don't understand why other companies can't do it that way. If this is a small little company, it's, I think, 2 guys. And they managed to knock this shit out and get it published and everything all on time. I think, and no disrespect to the Dave or Earl of Fife, because I know they work really hard to get their stuff put out. Soul Space was that, yeah, the Soul Space Kickstarter, Mark, I did, and I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. And in fact, there's another D6 system that Mr. Mean wholly endorses. I really like their setting and their system. I like the way the mechanics work. But no disrespect to any game designers on here, because I think the ones that are on here, and especially on the Mr. Mean Speaks Discord, you guys have your shit together and your stuff releases pretty much on time, or when you say it is, or it's let's face it, it's the expected norm that something is delayed. You if it says it's going to be out in June, you as a Kickstarter backer expect it in December or January or summer of the next year. Even though it says it's gonna ship in December of 2024, you realistically don't expect it until June of 2025 at best. And that's really sad that we do that expectation. I don't want to get on a rant about Kickstarter because I think most of you here know how I feel about Kickstarter. I'm not a huge fan of it. I understand it's a great way for indie publishers to make money and survive, but it's not. It is. I think it's being detrimental now to the indie community because of companies like Monte Cook and other big companies that are using it to. I just saw Savage Worlds just released Pinnacle released another Kickstarter. And I'm like, why? You guys don't need to do Kickstarters. For companies that big, it's just a glorified pre-order system. And I think it takes money out of indie publishers' mouths. I personally think Kickstarter should be for the indie publishers, you know, that and to help them get out there and make something of themselves. I think a prime example of that is Modiphius. Modiphius did their Kickstarter with John Carter, Warlord of Mars. I believe that was their first one. And then they did Mutant Chronicles, and then they did Infinity, and they haven't. I don't think they've done another Kickstarter. I don't think Dune was a Kickstarter. I don't think Dishonored or was a Kickstarter. Achtung Cthulhu. Brian, you follow that a little closer than I do, so I'm not sure if Achtung Cthulhu was a Kickstarter as well. Conan, yeah, Conan was their very first, and then it was Mutant Chronicles, and then it was Infinity. Those were their three Kickstarters. And now look at them; they're a major distributor and publisher. They're publishing a bunch of different games under their banner, under the Modiphius banner. They have a U.S. store and they have a U.K. store, or a EU store. I'm not quite sure. I think it's U.K. So there's a guy that took the money and ran and made something of his company. And he's just a sharp businessman, but he's employing people and he's living the RPG dream, him and his wife. So yeah, good for them. And that, to me, that's how Kickstarter should work. That's what it should be. It should be to help you get off the ground and get running, and then you reinvest that capital and to keep your game lines going. Now, that's not always easy said and done. Modiphius, I've talked with Chris Birch a couple of times. He gobbles up licenses like you wouldn't believe for products, and not everything makes it to a game. I think right now he's got Achtung Cthulhu, and he's got the Rome Cohors Cthulhu, which, well, that went to Kickstarter. Cohors Cthulhu went to Kickstarter. So he's done some things he's done in Kickstarter, some things he hasn't. But I don't think any of his stretch goals were beyond reason. Which is another falling of Kickstarters, is these smaller publishers will offer the world, and then it comes time to produce and they can't afford it, and they fall through and things go bad, and neither here nor there. But again, I don't want to berate Kickstarters or people that do it. The other one I wanted to talk to is I talked to my buddy Angus McNichol yesterday, and he's working on something kind of cool, and he gave me a little preview. I'm not allowed to show it, but he for MirrorSide, this uses his OS 2DX system. I've reviewed this, MirrorSide, and The White House, which is his horror. This is a horror game. It's not my jam, but I do like the mechanics. I love the layout of the book. He did a really great job. He did most of the art himself. So I wanted to give a little shout out to you guys to keep an eye out when you see that Kickstarter. I believe he's going to go to Kickstarter. You can pick this up in DriveThru RPG. MirrorSide is a spooky game. It's horror. It's not Cthulhu horror, but it is basically Stranger Things. There's the mirror side, the opposite side of our universe, where it's dark and foreboding, and there's very little hope. And you play characters that somehow get sent to that mirror side. You have to survive and try to get your way back and solve mysteries and stuff. So kind of like Scooby-Doo meets It. So yeah, really cool game, cool mechanics. Check it out if you can. I wanted to give a shout out to it though, because I talked to Angus yesterday. And he's a super cool guy. Let's see what else. Funding tool, and less about the funding tool platform. The scammer is going to scam. Bad business folks going to make bad business calls. You are totally correct. D-Day, yeah. We just had Memorial Day, so a day to celebrate all the veterans, or all the military people who died in service to our country. So much shout out to all our veterans, and anybody who had relatives that were in D-Day, or any of the conflicts in which soldiers passed. And I don't mean just U.S. soldiers, I mean any soldiers. So, but yeah. Yeah, Roman Cthulhu one, Cohors Cthulhu, I think. Yeah, Mark. I think if he's talking about, he hated the fact that he had to carry a sword or a knife around to go stab the other gunslinger because he didn't feel competent. I'm gonna say that might have been me not knowing the rules well enough and getting it going. But I do think it's a good system. I think it works. And let's face it, look at Star Trek. Yeah, they use a lot of phasers, but there's always hand-to-hand combat in almost every Star Trek episode. So there's a place for it, in your sci-fi. And let's face it, if you've looked at Sol Space, that is just a glowing homage to Star Trek. It's not even funny. There's every race in Star Trek you can find in Sol Space. You just got to look. The Klingons, the Romulans, the Vulcans, they're all in there. So yeah, and again, I think he's saying it's the way our archetypes were built, and I do agree with you. But I also think we really didn't spend enough time with the system to build out and flesh out those characters properly. There's a lot of talents and things that you can take that'll make you a better shot, and go from there. So I don't know. Han Solo never went to melee because obviously Greedo shot first, but Han Solo won. Opening up a tauntaun doesn't count. They'll say that. Tell that to the tauntaun. Escalation time. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know. I think it was my lack of familiarity with the rules and maybe the setting that we were playing in. But yeah, I do remember. I also thought your gunslinger was really cool, but. My wife just texted me and said, "Order of nachos and a hot dog later for a boy who says he's not hungry. $25 later." So, yeah, that's the other thing. Sometimes autistic children say one thing and mean another thing, but that's also kids in general. I have two other kids and they were the same way. Of course he was. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to give What's Old is New another try. I really like the game mechanics. And I'd like to use the starter box. I think they tweaked it and cleaned it up a little bit. So I would like to see just using the starter box in like their sci-fi. Their modern setting doesn't interest me at all whatsoever. But the fantasy setting is pretty cool because there are a bunch of spells, but you can make your own spells, which I think is really cool. And I don't know if the starter box goes into it too much. I don't believe it does, but I think it's a very cool, almost generic system. They kind of have their own little worlds built together, but they really, except for the What's Old is New for the new setting, with that Sol system, I don't think there's a fantasy setting book. I know they have a. I tell you what I would like to see. If anyone has friends at Ian Publishing, I think what they should do is they should do what Kobold Press does with their Warlock Grimoire. And for those that don't know, Warlock Grimoire. Man, I'm just falling apart here. Ah, too much shit. Kobold Press does a Patreon where I don't. Brian, I think you may be a member of the Patreon. I'm not sure you were. They have a Patreon, and every month they put out 15 to 25 page PDF that you get as part of your Patreon subscription, and it's just articles. It can be races, like in this case, it's a Yek demon. This is some sort of demon for 5e. But then what they do is after a certain amount of time, I think it's a year's worth or maybe 2 years worth, they condense it into a book and call it the Warlock Grimoire. And I've done reviews on each one of these. This is the fourth one. They're playing coy because they're saying they don't know if they're going to do another one. They said our plan was to do 4 of them, and all 4 are out. So, and I think that's because they just had a plethora of material backlog that they were able to put these, 300 page little books together. But I love the form factor. Kobold Press is another one that does amazing work. If I was to dive back into 5e, I have most of the Midgard stuff. I would just use Midgard as my 5e In fact, when I did run 5e, I used Midgard. I like their bestiaries. I like their layers book. I like all of their products. And I use these, believe it or not, in my fantasy games to get adventures and stuff for Pathfinder, for Fantasy Age, low fantasy gaming. These, you just file off the serial number and you've got whatever game choice you want. A monster is a monster. You just got to find the specs. Yeah, Mark, I will agree with you there. I think it does lend itself to very much a almost Western cowboys and Indians style of sci-fi. Like big lasers aren't really a factor the way they make it. But again, I don't know if they've cleaned that up in the updates to the beginner box because that's the whole point of it is they did take all that feedback into account and supposedly we're going to change things. So I don't know if they did or they didn't. Character creation did look pretty much the same way it did in the other, in the previous books that I have sitting on the shelf over there. I do know that I want to say the fantasy book was updated to 1.2 or whatever it is, whatever the current iteration of the rules are. So all three rule books now, what's old, now, and new, which is fantasy, modern, sci-fi, I think they're all 1.2 or 1.3 or something like that. Um, yeah, Mark thinks Tacto. Yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, Mark, I haven't got to play the fantasy. I think we should have Brian clear his schedule, and he should run us a what's old is new fantasy because I would love to play a mage in what's old is new and just see how it goes. I'm a big fan of fantasy genres that allow you to basically play Gandalf because Gandalf wielded a sword as well as magic, and I find it silly that a mage, and they always pawn it off as saying, well, the metal interferes with magic. Well, metal is natural. There's iron in the earth, but yet the earth is supposedly, or the magical, whatever realm, your fantasy realm you're in, there's metal everywhere, and, it's part of magic. Uh, yeah, no Roman laser rifles versus Carthage plasma swords. Yeah, pretty much not. I think what's old is new can do it for sure. Because the sci-fi little jaunt that I went down with the guys was kind of a Edge of the Empire kind of game, on the fringes. Yeah, Brian, I would love for you to run some old and have a session zero where we make characters and just go step by step, and make sure everybody's still on the same page. Your new setting, which one, Earl? I could totally see using the Caverns Old in a what's old is new. That would your dwarven book. So I hold dwarves in pretty high esteem in my fantasy. I love dwarves. Whenever I get a chance to play a dwarf, I always do, if it's an option. I played a dwarf in the Heroes and Hardship game that Brian ran for fantasy and really enjoyed him. I played a dwarf monk, and I have to say, he was a badass. And I didn't even tool him up. I mean, I just whipped him up real quick. If I would have spent time and gone through the book and then really tooled him up, I think he would have been awesome. Uh, Hoblet Burglar. That would be awesome, Mark. I'll play the wizard. Yeah, let's do it. Um, but Heroes in Hardship from Jason Duff. If you like a roll keep mechanic and you like D10s, which those are top of my list, uh, and I found Earl of Fife games through L5R. I ran. In fact, I think Brian was in that game. I ran I think a 3 or 4 shot of second edition L5R, and it got my juices flowing as far as Legends of the Five Rings, and so I was online looking for other stuff, and I came across Heroes in Hardship. And so I reached out to Jason and I found his Discord and I went and introduced myself and stuff like that. And I'd like to think that we've become fast friends. And I just did a video recently to promote his 5e Caverns Old and Dungeons Deep. Uh, Dungeons Deep and Caverns Old, which is, anyway, it's a phenomenal dwarf source book. Uh, and I love the visage of dwarves that he brought because they're not short, squat, fat, round dwarves. His dwarves are what I envision dwarves to be. Is they're short statured, muscular. Some of them can be barrel chested, but they're not. They're not, just this walking barrel of muscle. They're proportioned properly. They just happen to be short. So really well done, Jason. It's one of my definitive dwarven source books that I really like. Next to, I know Brian will probably remember, but Hogshead Publishing was a tertiary company that produced stuff for Games Workshop's Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and they did a dwarven source book that I hold in very high regard as far as for dwarves. So that's my two source books that I really enjoy. You're getting my version of Bumper. I wouldn't make you play a dwarf. That's the GM's call. I probably will play a human wizard. And now I'm going to break it out and start making a character. So the other thing I wanted to talk to about this, since we've touched on a couple of things. Bomber of the low rolling dice. Yeah, for those that don't know, Mark has played in many of my games and many of Brian's games, and the dice gods, they don't like Mark at all. I'm firmly convinced that, and he's playing. I believe he's still playing in a Pathfinder Second Edition game that my friend Tom was running. I don't think Tom's running it anymore. Alternate movement rolling. Hey, yeah, totally. But and I think he plays a thief in that Pathfinder game, and he's the dice gods have not been too kind to him. But I just think it's one of those things that it is what it is. Some people have the mojo and some people don't. By the way, in my Pathfinder game last Saturday, I think I rolled 3 nat 20s in a row for my monsters when they were hitting players. So, yep. Thanks, Jason, Earl of Fife, for hanging out. Appreciate it, sir. Have a wonderful evening and keep up all the good work, sir. I look forward to your next project. I'm super excited because H&H. If you guys haven't checked out Heroes and Hardships, please do yourself a favor and check it out. It's a really cool game. Very generic. And then, of course, if you want fantasy and you want a dwarven campaign, the Dungeons Deep and Caverns Old is phenomenal. Very happy to have it in my collection. And like I said, I've already referenced it for my game. Sorry, guys. So I have a habit of, I have a hot tub. My house came with a hot tub. And so a buddy of mine, Todd, has a hot tub as well. And so when I got my new hot tub and I sat in it and everything, I sent him a selfie. And so now every time we get in the hot tubs, we send each other a selfie. So Todd has just sent me a picture. I'm sure it's probably washed out because of the light. Let me turn it down a little bit. It's kind of funny, to be honest. That's my buddy Todd. I used to work with him. And my reply is going to be, my eyes! So that was just pretty funny because I'm always sending him pictures. Yeah, the GMs. Yeah, I have a disc plate. If you don't know, disc plate makes metal posters. Basically, you can see. I have an Incredible Hulk one right there. Let me turn the camera up. Yeah, right there. That's a disc plate right there. Incredible Hulk with Warworld, and then down there is Qui-Gon's lightsaber. They're metal plates. They're about $35. They come, I think, from Poland. They're pretty good. I really like them. But I have one on the other side of the wall that says, "When the GM smiles, it's too late." So Gondor calls for aid. The beacon is lit. Uh, uh, Yeah, so the beacon is lit. God, now I want to go watch the Lord of the Rings again, especially with the dwarves. Um, uh, but anyway, yeah, my dice were hot last Saturday night. The 2 weeks before though they were ice cold. I don't even think I got a hit. But I brought the cleric down to. They were fighting ogres, and they brought the dwarven cleric down to 5 hit points total. So and the ogres hit really hard. I think they just hit fourth level. They were fighting four ogres, and there's five of them. One of them is a elven ranger though, so he doesn't get into close combat if he can avoid it. Uh, my buddy Todd just said, "There's room for two in here." My reply is, "Call the girlfriend. I'm not getting it." Uh, um, the dice were just my dice were just horribly cold on me the week before or the session before. But last week we played last Saturday. This is my off Saturday. Um, I can't play anything this weekend, and next weekend I have to travel for work on Sunday. I think so. I'm not going to be around. So yeah, I have to be somewhere Monday morning for my work, so I have to travel on Sunday. But they pay me for it, so no big deal. But what was I saying? Um, Yeah, the dice were hot. I mean, I brought the dwarf down. The ogre's first attack was pretty good. I think they had a plus 12 or plus 13 to hit, and then after that, -5, so it goes down to like a 6 or 7 or 8. I can't remember, but it just wasn't enough. Like their ACs, all the parties' ACs are up there. Um, so yeah. Um, I should go sit in the hot tub tonight, but I'm afraid the mosquitoes will eat me alive. I have a gazebo I'm going to put up with a mosquito net all around it. I'm going to attach it to the gazebo. It's one of those portable gazebos, but it'll fit around my hot tub. So it's a pretty big gazebo, and I got to anchor it to the ground. But anyway, that's third world problems there. Um, yeah, so you only get one dwarf and a bunch of hobbits. Yeah, so yeah, that's the joy of GMing, though. I throw all these monsters and challenges at the players, and it's really neat to see the players overcome it. And I gotta say, I'm very blessed to have such a great gaming group. They are really into it. We had a little bit of role play last session, but we had a big combat with those ogres, and they I honestly thought I was gonna have at least one party death, one party member death, if not more. But they just went to town, and they just so the fighter uses a goozy arm, or however you say it, but it's the pole arm with a hook on it, and he would do a trip attack, knock the ogres down, and then the thief, who was an elf, half elf, I believe, would jump on top of them and slit their throats. And it counted because when you fall down, you're flat-footed. So when you're flat-footed and a rogue attacks you, they get their sneak attack. So he was rolling, and he got a crit too. So yeah, it was really good tactics on the player's part. It was really a good way to take down those ogres, and they were all focused on dwarves because in my world, ogres hate dwarves. They don't like them at all because they fight for the same caverns and stuff. Um, and so it was pretty neat. It was a lot of fun. Uh, Well, yeah, well, I mean, that's, Mark, I'll say this. There are feats you can take that'll increase your movement. He plays a gnome, and so his biggest argument is all the fights start too far away because he has a short movement. Um, from playing dwarves, I'm in the same boat. We start with a movement speed of 20, and if you don't take unburdened iron, then your movement goes down to 10, which sucks in a tactical, maneuvering game. But I would say try to take a level or two of rogue to get that movement bonus, and then get some, boots of elven kind, or fleet-footed is a feat you can get. There's ways around it that you can get your movement up there. Get a ring of haste. A magical item that gives you haste, that'll give you an extra movement action. So there's ways to counteract it. Yeah. So, and that's kind of what our Elven Ranger does. He's a ranger. He may go druid because Howl of the Wild just came out, and he's kind of been looking at it, and I think he kind of likes it, what he's seeing in there. Um, I'm to be honest, it's the first Pathfinder Paizo Pathfinder Second Edition book that I'm not very pleased with. I don't like the layout of the book. It's very kiddie. The art in it seems to be like they were pandering to 12-year-olds. I don't know. It just didn't spark me at all. But that's the nature of the beast, I guess. So we'll see what what transpires in the next book. I know the GM screen is coming out for Pathfinder Second Edition, so I'm hoping that has some redeeming. I have a strong fear that it's going to be a $25 GM screen. It should hopefully be of good quality, but I don't think it's going to have any substance, which really bums me out because their last two GM screens were the same thing. It was $25 for cardboard. You didn't even get a little booklet, so I was really, really hoping to get something of substance, and we'll see. Hopefully, though, I have a funny feeling though it's just going to be the GM screen. There's not going to be a book with it or a pamphlet. Uh, well, that's good. I'm glad you got a couple crits in. Harpies can be brutal. My players fought a gargoyle. Um, and the gargoyle had a thing where if it hits with both its claws while it's flying, it raises you up. It spends two move actions to fly straight up and then lets you go. And so, yeah, they found out the hard way that hurts a lot. And then the gargoyle got away. They really didn't have. I think the bard had expended all of his magic missiles on fighting the wizard. So yeah, if I remember correctly, the gargoyle got away, and she's still out there. So she doesn't like them very much. So she may come back to haunt them. But yeah, so the other thing I wanted to chit chat about, which is what the whole video was, is Fabula Ultima by Need Games. This is written by I got his name in here. I think he's Italian. Yeah, Emmanuel Galetto. So I think he's Spanish. Uh, this is a beautiful book. Let's see what's Mark saying there. Yeah, well, Mark, you tend to play social characters. You like to play the face, and unfortunately, in most role playing games, you can't do both. You gotta kind of pick a direction and go. You either want to be the damage dealer, you want to be the damage absorber, or you want to be the face or the mage. I mean, you kind of, mage, cleric, whatever. A lot of games don't really support, like Pathfinder is a combat game, let's face it, it's a tactical combat game. It does not support, uh, you know, playing a face and de-escalating combat. Can you make a character that does that? Yes. But if the GM is not into it, or the adventurer is not into it, you're going to be at a downside every time. You're going to die, or you're just not going to be very effective. Now, intimidation and things like that, I would say make sure your GM understands the rules of intimidation. My fighter used the dwarf was getting beat up pretty bad by the ogres, and the fighter, who's an orc, he's an orc fighter. He used intimidation. I think he had a +9 to his intimidation, and he intimidated the orc or the ogre and it actually worked. So now the ogre had a -2, I think, to everything it was doing. And in Pathfinder, as the old saying goes, every +1 counts. And that -2 actually saved the dwarf's life, because when he tried to make an attack, he was at -2 and he missed. And their first attack is the one where they hit, and if they hit, they do decent amount of damage. I think it was a 1d10 +7 was the damage. So, and I was rolling rocks all night. I was rolling like 6, 7, 8, 9s, and 10s. Every time I hit. So, but if your GM is not facilitating the social aspect of the game, you need to get with your GM and talk to them and say, hey, this is my build. This is the character I want to play. Are you down with that? Because the GM, if he's not, should hopefully tell you and say, hey, I'm running more of a combat centric game. You probably want to make a character that's more combat oriented than a social character. Now, if you want to play a social character and the GM doesn't want to facilitate that, you're spinning your wheels. But I don't typically run a lot of social games. But then again, I've had some games. I believe you were in my Edge of the Empire game. That was a very social game. I mean, we had some good combats in it, but we had some heavy role playing sessions where I think we had 1 or 2 sessions where we didn't even have a combat. It was all just social interaction, and it was a lot of fun. I thought you guys did great. So it just depends on the GM, and I don't typically lean towards the social aspect. I like a more tactical combat, game. But we all have our days, and some days I want to, role play really hard, and some days I want to just chuck dice and kill players. So it is what it is. We're building a kingdom, yeah. The Cantina gunfight, yeah. Yeah, a lot of fun there. That's another game. I don't know if anybody else on the channel here has played Edge of the Empire, but it's my favorite Star Wars game to date. Force and Destiny just didn't do it for me. They didn't feel like Jedi to me. I wanted to mimic, the using Force powers to pull lightsabers across the room and stuff like that. And those really, while they are in the game, they're not as easy to get. Yeah, see, Dave, you've got a good group. My group wants to just kill shit. But like I said, I threw in a heavy roleplay session last time with a priestess of Sarenrae, and I thought for sure they're going to be. You could tell when your group is not into it, when they're like just going through the motions so they can get to the next fight, and that's. I don't want to say, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's the play style of the group, and the GM has to cater to that or have a conversation with their players. And I cater to that. I pretty much run through the role play and just to get to the next fight. I'm guilty of it too. But I wanted this role play session with this cleric or priestess. She's not a cleric, a priestess of Sarenrae. And they dived right in. I was so impressed. I was so, and then what happens every game session, we start playing around 6:30, 7 p.m. and we play till about midnight, and we wrap it up, and usually everybody's out by 12:30, 1 o'clock. And at that time, I send out a text once everybody leaves and say, whatever my thoughts are at the time, great session, had a lot of fun. You guys did great, or you guys, missed some opportunities, whatever. Trying to make it a positive thank you text for everybody, spending their time with me, because, they're giving up 6 hours of their free time to come hang out with me. So at my house. So again, just a thank you for playing and everything. And the overall response I got back was, what a blast. Had a great time. Best session ever. So yeah, clearly players, sometimes if they are the kick in the door, kill the monsters, take their shit, they still like a good social role-playing session, and we had it last week. And so I imagine next week's session will probably be pretty bloody because they're in a dungeon and it's not going to go well. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, and I think social can be really good if you play it up. And I hope that I gave the Priestess of Sarenrae a character that the players felt about. And so we'll see. But has anybody looked at Fabula Ultima by Neat Games by Emmanuel Galetto? If you don't have this, go pick it up. It's that simple. It's a very unique mechanic. If you like Japanese RPGs or JRPGs on the consoles or your computer, Final Fantasy, uh, oh God, can't think of the name of it now. Final Fantasy. I'm trying to think of some of the other JRPGs. I can't think of any right now. I've played a ton of them. But anyway, this emulates those perfectly. You start at level 5. So you have to take 5 careers, and I think you can't take take the same career more than 3 times, if I remember correctly. So you have to have I think you have to have a minimum of 2 or 3 careers out of those 5 levels. So every level is a career, basically. So you can be a fighter wizard, you can be a fighter mage, you can be a fighter thief or a thief mage or whatever. You get some options. There's all kinds of cool stuff in here. The art in the book is fantastic. It's available as a PDF as well as a physical book, which I bought at the local game store down in the cities in Minneapolis called The Source. If you go there, tell them Mr. Mean sent you. It's a super cool game store. Really love the mechanics here. Very simple. It uses D6 on up to D20. There's no D4s in the game. Well, the GM can use a D4, but it rarely has a need for it. Some of the cool things they've done is like in the equipment section, it's all pixel art like you would see on a computer game, which I think is kind of cute. But the art in here generally is really, really well done. Let me see if I can find another. Yeah, I showed that one already. Each chapter is given some art, and it's very much got that. Here's your typical cat girl. So the art is, like I said, is really well done. But the way you only have 4 skills. You have 4 attributes in the game. And usually you'll take 2 of those attributes, and sometimes you can double up. But like to use a revolver, accuracy is dex plus dex. So whatever your dex die is, you're going to add that. In this case, you would add it twice, and you'll roll those 2 dice, and you'll try to beat a target number. And then for damage, I really love this. It is so smooth. So you roll your damage dice, and it's so in this case it's physical. And it's high roll plus 8. So whatever the damage die is based off of your attribute, so in this case dex, say it's a 10, you would roll 2 dice, and whatever the high roll is, you would add plus 8 to it. And that's your physical, and then it's whatever type of damage it is. So it's really, really done very well. There's all kinds of classes in here. There's a supplement book out for fantasy. And there's also they just came out with a GM screen, I think last week or the week before. The advice to GMs in here is amazing. The game is very well written from what I can tell. Magic items are super plentiful. It's a high fantasy. You can play a low fantasy game if that's what you want. As you can see, I'm still reading it. I was going to curl up and read tonight because the wife and the kid are at an event, but I decided to go live anyway because I wanted to talk about this some. So if you haven't picked this up yet, do yourself a favor and pick it up. I need to print the GM because it comes with a GM book, which is very well done, and the GM screen. I haven't printed it because I'm hoping that when I go to the cities this weekend, I'll stop at the Source and they'll have a physical copy of the GM screen, and I will buy it because I would like to run this for my local group here as a one-shot maybe. But the art is fantastic. We're looking at 350 pages. It's got a slip cover on it, which is very nicely done. It's an exact copy of the actual cover. The actual cover of the book is black and white. The slip cover is color, as you can see there. So you can take that off. It's also got the big leaves in it in the slipcover, so you can use that as a bookmark if you so desire. It appears to be very well written. The game is well supported on their website. There's a bunch of downloads you can go download. Now it is in French, and I believe it's French or Spanish. I don't remember. You have to... Besom, Mark, is a really good game. I have all 4 versions of Besom. because I like it that much. It's a very streamlined system. I like this better though, because it's not straight D6. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. So yeah, Knights of the Last Call, which is a very popular streaming channel on YouTube, they got their start with Pathfinder Second Edition. They did Rise of the Rune Lord stream, and their channel's blown up. They're pretty big. They did a deep dive on this, and I had already bought the game because I saw the cover. I actually downloaded the press kit there. You can go on, you can use my affiliate link, download the press kit for free, and it gives you a starting adventure and a bunch of pre-mades. I have the actual press kit. And in fact, I think I sent the press kit to one of my followers on, I did a raffle and I sent it to them for free. So, yeah, kind of wish I would have kept it now, but I have it as a PDF, so either way. Again, if you're watching, pop into the chat there and say hi. Let us know you're in here. I appreciate you popping in and saying hi. And of course, you know, this is kind of a generic fantasy system as well. They do give some advice on creating fantasy worlds, you know, stealing from your favorite JRPG. But again, if you have resources like this or any 5e adventure, there you go. You've got your adventure. Just use it. I saw someone make a comment on one of the forums that they were using this to run Delicious in Dungeon, which I thought was pretty cool, to be honest. I started to watch Delicious in Dungeon and then I fell asleep. So I might go put it on after I chat with you guys tonight, and then I'm hoping to have a quiet day at work tomorrow. And then, like I said, I have to drive to the city. My wife's car and my car both need maintenance, and so we have to get them down to the cities. That's the only authorized repair shop around. That's a 2.5-hour drive. But they give me a loaner car, and my wife and I had enough points for a free hotel. So we're going to stay. We're going to get a hotel. We're going to leave Saturday morning and be back Sunday afternoon when we check out of the hotel. Has anybody else checked out Fabula Ultima? If you have, what do you think? I also have Goblin Slayer, which is another Japanese anime that was turned into an RPG. I like it too. It's a D6 system. My only thing is it's really dense, and I believe I have the book over here. I've done a review on it as well. Yeah, there it is. And it's really good. But it's when you look at Fabula Ultima and you look at Dragon Slayer or Goblin Slayer, it's kind of night and day. Yeah, Goblin Slayer is pretty dense. It's on very thin paper, but it's fine. It's just, and then the character sheet was perforated, and you have to pull it out, and that's the character sheet. Front and back. So I don't know how conducive this is to play or whatever. I mean, it's a good read. If you haven't watched the anime, I love the anime. But like I said, it's a pretty chunky book. I think I paid $10 to get the Kindle version, which I got to say works really well. It's nice if I'm flying or whatever. I have to go to Texas later this summer for work. I plan on bringing my Kindle, and this is on it, so I'm going to get some reading in. I might actually convert this to the Kindle as well. There's a process for those that don't know, and it works pretty well, so I'm pretty excited to do that. Oh, that's cool, Dave. I didn't know that Goblin Slayer sparked Project Sunflower. That's really cool. I do like the layout of the book. It's black and white. There's no color in it. It's all black and white art, which is taken from the video game. So it's really well done. I haven't got to play this. I haven't read very much of it. There's an adventure in here called Save the Baby, which if you watch Goblin Slayer, you'll know why that's funny. Goblin Slayer, if you're a parent and you have small kids or young kids, I wouldn't let them watch it. The very opening scene is a rape scene where the goblins rape the magic user, the female, and it explains on where baby goblins come from. So I don't think that's kid appropriate, in my opinion. It may not bother you, but I didn't think that was particularly. But I watched it on Crunchyroll, and they gave a disclaimer at the beginning that says, mature themes and everything. So just be aware what your kids are watching. Public service announcement. But Goblin Slayer is pretty cool. Like I said, I'm looking forward to reading it on my Kindle. I've had it for a while. I was going to make a character. I was sat down to do it, and I don't remember what happened, but $20 for a chunky rulebook. And if you're into Japanese anime, and you don't want to spend a ton of money, this is a great way to go. But I think Fabula Ultima is the better of the two games. Now, if you want to play in the Goblin Slayer world, obviously that's the one to do it. Uh, uh, yeah, Dave is saying that he put them all in there. Hey, Cristiano, ¿qué pasó? I'm good, my friend. How are you? Good to see you. So yeah, really impressed with this. I was impressed with Goblin Slayer. I remember looking through it, and I did like it. So uh, I'm pretty impressed with it. But I really like this a lot. And again, they have the tabs. You can see the dark tabs, so you can go to whatever section. Game Master, Bestiary, game rules. So laid out really, really well. Very, very impressed. What a golden age of RPGs that we live in. I mean, where you can get any genre you want, basically. Uh, Tales of Argosa is looking amazing. Warlock Grimoire is an amazing resource if you're a 5e player. If you play in Kobold Press's Midgard setting, obviously it's this is a must-have. And to be honest, $25 for 250, 300 pages. Yeah, 296 pages total. Um, Dark Fantasy for 5th edition. It's great. Each one of these books has been a great resource for me. I've used so much out of these. I really like them. So, Cristiano is saying, fine, hopefully Void Runner may be your cup of tea. I'm not going to back Void Runner. I'll wait until there's physical books on the shelves. I just bought a house in October, and my mortgage is outrageous. I make very good money. My wife makes good money, and we're struggling financially because my mortgage is $2,600 a month, and we both make good money. And it's we're struggling. Now part of that is I have an autistic child, which is very expensive, and trying to get support and stuff for that when you make the money I make is not easy because the government says you make too much money, which you really don't, but blah, blah, blah. So, that being said, as much as there's a ton of Kickstarters I want to back, and a lot of them are my friends that are on Discord that support the channel, I can't financially do it. I gotta draw the line, and unfortunately, role-playing games you can't eat them. Well, you can, but they don't taste good. And so I have to make a choice on. I'm spending my dollars very wisely, doing a lot more PDFs. You're going to see a lot more PDF reviews on the channel, just because I can't afford to buy the physical books anymore. I'm running out of space. This is a pretty big basement, and it's chock. These walls are chock full, so I've got to cut back or get rid of some games, and I just don't see me doing that. I mean, each one of these games is like my child, and I love them. High in fiber, yes, they are, Mark. So yeah, as much as I want to support my friends in their Kickstarters, it will be supporting them in PDF format. It's just that's and even then I may not do it. But I'd like to think that I've given a lot to the tabletop RPG community in my reviews and my support of indie games. So if that's hopefully that is seen and felt, and that goodwill will continue to be manifested in the fact that sometimes they send me hard copies of their games, which I absolutely adore. And obviously, to do a hard copy review is easier for me than a PDF because I have crappy eyes, and so reading on the screen is difficult for me. You guys see me keep leaning in because I'm trying to read the chat, and I've got it half the screen here. My eyes are horrible. But yeah, it's just economics, I mean, we wanted a house. This is a horrible time to buy a house right now. especially up here in the Midwest, in the northern Midwest, just because the housing market. I paid $100,000 over what my house is worth. It's just painful. But yeah, Dave says he makes the same amount on physical books as he does PDFs. Yeah, um, yeah, Dave, you're in a tough market though, buddy, because you're on drive-through, and so they're going to take their cut no matter what. So it's if you could get it on Amazon or whatever, but that's tough because you got to have the capital to produce a book in large quantities because Amazon's not going to sell 10 copies. They want 50,000 or 20,000, before they'll stock it and stuff. And then you got to find someone to actually carry your book. So yeah, there's a lot of tertiary sellers on Amazon. So it's a tough market, man. No one's ever gotten rich off of RPGs. I mean, Dave Arness and Gary Gygax pretty much went to their graves poor. I don't remember if Dave Arness is dead now or passed away. I know Gary is obviously, but I think Dave might still be kicking. He's kind of out of the RPG industry as far as I know. But yeah, they were never rich. You know what I mean? So take that with a grain of salt there. So I'm running out of steam, guys. It's 8 o'clock, I think. Yeah, it's 8:05. Unless there's something you guys want to talk about. I think our highest stream was 7 people online, but not everybody pops in. Oh, we got 9 people watching now. So according to the stream, so 8 people because I'm streaming as well. I'm watching the stream, so I count as one of them. Yeah, but does Amazon do print on demand? I think they do, but there's stipulations. I don't know. I am excited that we're getting an Amazon hub up here in Minnesota. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I thought Dave was passed. Thank you, Mark. Um, yeah, they didn't die rich. Let me put it that way. So you don't get rich running RPGs or creating RPGs, as Dave can probably tell you, or my buddy Angus McNichols can tell you, or Stephen Turner, or any of the other various RPG developers on the channel. Project Sunflower. I did the unboxing. I need to get with you. Dave is asking when the Project Sunflower review is going to come out. I did an unboxing. I did the flip through of the book. Uh, I haven't got to play it, and to be honest, I just don't have the brain width. It's to be blatantly honest, it's not my genre of choice. I don't. I'm not into those type of games, but as you saw in my review, I think the layout of the book is amazing. I love the yellow color in there. In fact, I think you can see it's sitting right up there, right on top of my Pathfinder. I had to put it where everybody could see it because when the guys came over Saturday night after I put it up there, I think 2 weeks ago, um, everybody went, "Oh, what's that?" Because they saw the big sunflower. So the book grabs you, and of course, its physical layout is quite different from most other tabletop RPGs. So yeah, I showed it to them. Um, but I need to get with you and actually make a character. We need to sit down and maybe we should do that online. Yeah, I'll agree with you. Yeah, Cristiano, I saw that. DC 20 is done by a fellow YouTuber, um, and it looks pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. It uses an action economy very similar to Pathfinder, but I'm not overly impressed with it. Yeah, well, Gary Gygax died. I think I don't know how old Gary was. I'd have to look it up, and I'm not going to do that midstream. But yeah, 61 is young. I mean, I'll be 57 in 3 weeks, so or a little less than three. We have 3 weeks. Uh, Today's what is today? The 8th. Today's the 6th. No, tomorrow will be 3 weeks. On my birthday is June 21st, so I will be 57 years young. So yeah, I mean, I'm blessed that I'm in pretty decent shape. I have some aches and pains, but yeah. I also am a grognard and refuse to go to the doctor. So Yeah. Dave, we'll get together, buddy. I'll send you a private message, and maybe we can try to record it. That would be actually cool, and I'll point the camera down to the screen and to the table, and you can fill me in. Let's see. Gygax was in 2008. He was 69. Yeah, still relatively young, but a good clip. I mean, to be honest, I didn't think I'd make it to 56. So, with the life I've lived. So, but I'm running on a steam, guys. My morning started at 5 o'clock, so I've been up for a while. I did take a 2-hour nap, but the allergies are just draining me. So, let's try and find a time to run some Fabula Ultima, and maybe we can get Dave to run a game of Project Sunflower. That would be super cool. Um, Maybe one weekend. I know this weekend I'm super busy. Next weekend I have my Pathfinder game. Yeah, it's hard to find time now. Things are booked up, and it's summertime too. So I want to get out. I got to mow my lawn, and I just won't get a chance to do it until sometime next week. But hopefully the rain will stop and I can get it mowed. But I hope everybody had a fun time chatting. Cristiano, thanks for popping in the chat there, sir. I don't know how many people are online. We got 8 people watching now, so one person dropped. So some people popped in, but I want to thank everybody for. Dave, I would enjoy that very much too, buddy. For Shizzle, I hope everyone has a lovely evening. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight, and I think we've been chatting for an hour and 40 minutes, so a lot of fun. Hopefully you learned a little things, and if you haven't picked up Fabula Ultima or Goblin Slayer or Tales of Argosa or Mirror Side or Project Sunflower or What's Old is New, any of the plethora of games we've chatted about tonight, do yourself a favor. Use that affiliate link on DriveThruRPG. Tell them Mr. Mean sent you. And everybody have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. And as always, peace and hair grease. And remember, Mr. Mean says, have a good night.